Being born in the 90s, many can agree that we were blessed with being raised in the golden age of Cartoon Network. Even though these series have ended and concluded many years ago, these characters are still super iconic and recognizable to this day. Let me know down in the comments, what was your favorite Cartoon Network show growing up? Mine was Samurai Jack. That being said, let's kick this collection off with these 3 iconic characters. Kicking this off with Gendy's earliest work, Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. So this custom was one of my earliest customs. Definitely had learned a lot from when I first made this, so I could probably fix this figure up right afterwards. But taking a closer look here, a hurdle that I initially ran into was, how was I going to make this character using Marvel Legends parts? Most of Marvel Legends figures are grown-ass men. For this to work, I had to take a couple of creative liberties. This figure is slightly inspired by Fusion Fall, where most of the Cartoon Network designs are older, which would be easier to make because, you know, they have normal proportions and basic stuff like necks and fingers and... So, with Dexter, the head sculpt comes from a Marvel Legends Peter Parker figure. That head sculpt comes with giant oval glasses, so it would be less sculpt work for me. But it's not completely devoid of sculpt. I still had to sculpt the hair using a 2-part epoxy clay, but to be honest, it wasn't too bad to make. With a couple of basic sculpting tools, I was able to shape the hair and give it some texture. The base of the figure comes from a Fantastic Four Mr. Fantastic Marvel Legend. That figure is pretty slim, especially when comparing it to other standard Marvel Legend bases. The Mr. Fantastic base is a lot slimmer than those. So, using the slimmer base, I could retrofit this trench coat over him and have it closed. There are regular lab coats, like the ones from Bruce Banner or even from this Mr. Fantastic figure, but those lab coats are designed to stay open, and for this design, I needed it to have it closed. So I opted to use the MCU Star-Lord for the coat, since it looks kinda techy, and since it's a little big, I could have the jacket closed on a smaller base. For the arms and legs, I used a Old Man Logan figure. I wanted Dexter to keep his short king status, and Logan's parts were perfect for this. Even though the legs don't actually match up with the Mr. Fantastic base, it's really well hidden by the coat, so that works out. So recapping for Dexter, the ingredients used are Peter Parker for the head sculpt, Mr. Fantastic for the base, and an Old Man Logan figure for the arms and legs. Here's Johnny Bravo. This one was actually pretty hard to figure out. In the concept stages, the initial issue I ran into for Johnny was his silhouette. Johnny's look and proportions are pretty iconic. He has big hair, he's super bulky, with tiny legs. I swear, that guy's workout routine does not include leg day at all. Obviously, there really isn't a lot of figures out there with that build. I thought about using Sabretooth or even that buff cat from Fortnite, but it really is slim pickings for a figure that is super buff with tiny chicken legs. That is until I came across this figure, Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon literally meets the criteria that I was looking for, and the secondhand market prices for this one wasn't even that bad. For this, it's mostly a repaint of that figure with some sculpt for the hair. And just like Dexter, I used a 2-part epoxy clay and sculpted the hair. I definitely made the hair too big, no lie, but his hair is pretty tough to sculpt, So in the future, I'll probably think about using a different head sculpt and try giving it another go, or just have one 3D printed to be honest and save myself the headache. But yeah, so recapping for Johnny Bravo, the base is from a Savage Dragon figure, using a little bit of sculpt and a little bit of paint. Saving my favorite for last, Samurai Jack. For this, I had to take a lot of creative liberties for this one. The problem that I was facing making this figure was Well, everything. What head sculpt do I use? How do I make the gi? Like, I've seen other people use soft goods for the gi, but to be honest, soft goods comes with their own set of issues. Especially with white cloth, you can handle them with the utmost care, and they will eventually get dirty regardless, due to dust and stuff. I know you can avoid that issue by just treating it like a museum piece and locking it behind a glass case, but I wanted a Jack figure that I could pose and move around without it getting dirty. So with the parts I do have, the closest to the gi was this MCU Death Dealer piece. The upper part is perfect, but the lower end is a bit too short. I have a few future ideas on how to extend it, but for now, this will have to do. For the base, I use a comic Shang-Chi figure. Since the lower end of the robe is too short, the baggy pants from Shang-Chi will kind of remedy that. And for the sleeves, I went ahead and used a Hand Ninja figure. I opted to use this Hand Ninja figure since the sleeves are similar to this old Samurai Jack figure back from the early 2000s. But taking a second look at it now, in the future, I'm definitely going to swap it out for some jacket sleeves for it to be more accurate. Moving on to the head sculpt, this went through a lot of trial and error. Jack has a very iconic look to him, and the most prominent feature of his face is his very rectangular shaped head and a square jaw. I originally experimented with a Punisher head sculpt, but then I thought maybe I should go with something more animated, like a Superman head sculpt. And while on the search, I came across this Captain Marvel, or Shazam at this point, from a old DC Direct line. I'm not sure a lot of people know about this figure, so it kinda hides the illusion of it being a kit bash. Kinda. And for the top knot, since I was already taking apart Death Dealer, I just cut off his top knot and gave it to Jack. I know this Jack figure could be improved upon, but until I figure that out, this will be my Jack in my collection. And now that I'm looking at it again, I'll definitely be updating this figure for it to be a little bit more accurate. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any suggestions on how to improve these figures. Definitely want to expand my Cartoon Network collection with some custom figures, and let me know down in the comments below, what was your favorite Cartoon Network show? If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my other customs on my playlist on the channel. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.